Picture this. You've decided to dive into the exhilarating world of real estate investing. Your mind's buzzing with dreams of financial freedom and wealth. But amidst the excitement lies a treacherous path riddled with pitfalls waiting to trip up the unwary investor. In this journey, knowing what not to do can be just as crucial as knowing what to do. So before you take this leap, buckle up and join me as I uncover the top 10 mistakes you must steer clear of when venturing into real estate investing. Trust me, avoiding these mistakes could mean the difference between soaring success and costly crash landing. I'll be posting every Tuesday and Friday, so make sure you check back for future videos and turn on that notification bell so that way you'll be notified every time I post. First mistake is taking on too much debt. Debt can be a great tool if used correctly. However, if you use too much, it can force you to be underwater and underwater fast. Taking out too much debt reduces your margin for error if the real estate market shifts or changes. Say for example, if you put 3% down on a home and the real estate market shifts to the downside by 10%, well, you're now underwater by 7% technically. On a $500,000 property, that would be an amount of $35,000, which means if the bank forces you to sell, you're now forced to realize that $35,000 loss. That doesn't simply go away. You're now required to pay back that bank $35,000, which if you personally guaranteed your loan, which I'm sure you did, they can start taking other assets like your bank accounts, your cars, whatever it may be. Take that exact same example, but this time put 20% down on a $500,000 house and the market shifts to the downside by 10%. Well, now you technically lost the same amount of money. If the bank forces you to sell, then you still take that $35,000 loss, which hurts, but at least you're not indebted to the bank with the bank starting to seize assets and start taking stuff away from you. So too much debt can also be a huge mistake for the sole reason of the cost, the monthly cost. The more debt you have on a property, the more expensive it is to own said property and harder it is to yield a return as you can only charge so much rent. And with a high debt cost, your profit is eaten up by the excessive principal and interest payments. So you can only charge so much rent. Your mortgage payment is super high. So now you have zero room for profit, and God forbid a tenant moves out and now you're in the negative again. Inaccurately estimating renovation costs is another huge mistake that I see very often. This can get dangerous very fast if your profit on a deal is based solely around the after repair value that you plan to fetch once the property is fully renovated. This can be dangerous as a simple miscalculation on what the repair cost will be can eat up all of your profit and cost you tens of thousands of dollars or even the risk of bankruptcy. For example, if you buy a property all in for a cost to acquire, renovate, and carry the property of $500,000 with the intention of selling the property for $560,000 and your renovation comes in 12% higher than expected, then you're now standing to lose $50,000 on your investment. An additional 12% renovation cost would be $60,000 plus the cost to sell for agent fees, closing costs, and everything else. All these additional fees would be another 8% give or take, which is an additional $50,000. So you'd be in the hole $50,000 just in this investment. Paying points is another huge mistake that people make. Paying points to decrease your mortgage payment when it doesn't fully align with your full real estate goals. Mortgage points are expensive. So paying for points to decrease your mortgage payment when you're planning on selling in 5 years is fully a waste of money. You might as well flush it down the toilet. You should pay for points only if you plan on holding the property for 15 plus years. Anything less than that, you're simply flushing money down the toilet once again, and you will not see a return on the cost to acquire those said points. Number 4 would be improperly screening tenants. Qualified tenants are the single most important variable in multifamily real estate investing. Tenants are the main driver of income for your property. Without that income, you don't have money to pay for taxes, insurance, mortgage, utilities. None of that gets paid. And you either have to cover that cost out of pocket or go bankrupt. There's no in between. So choosing a tenant that you know will pay on time and can afford to do so is crucial when investing in this type of real estate. Number 5 is underestimating the work it takes to manage real estate. Real estate property management can very quickly turn into a full-time job. If you don't allocate the appropriate time, making sure that tenants are satisfied and the property is well maintained, it can end up costing you more money and time in the long run. Many people get into real estate and get into the misconception of investing in real estate thinking it's fully passive. You buy a property, then book a ticket to somewhere tropical, and the property is just going to pay you every single month. This is a huge misconception once again and is far from the truth. If you are not managing the property, then hire someone else to do so because it's just going to be at the tenant's expense. They're going to have a poor experience and the property is not going to be well maintained. And if you don't want to do either of those, if you don't want to hire a property manager or do it yourself, then maybe look into REITs or real estate syndications, as those would be a little bit more passive ways to invest in real estate. Number 6 is only looking at real estate for the cash flow and not considering the other benefits when you're buying that real estate. Cash flow is great, however, it's taxed as ordinary income and is one of the many benefits in investing in real estate. Real estate also offers other benefits such as principal pay down by tenants, appreciation, tax write-offs, depreciation, and inflation protection. When buying real estate, don't say no just simply for the cash flow. Look at these other avenues as well and weigh if it's really not a good deal or if you could make sense of the deal with these other aspects. Because like I said, if you're not making a lot of cash flow, then there might be a lot of appreciation and vice versa. Number 7 is buying properties far away early on. When first starting out, you're establishing the systems to make your well-oiled real estate machine. However, buying a property that is too far away when you're self-managing that property can be a huge mistake. For example, if you're buying a property that's an hour and a half away and you get a call in the middle of the night that the toilet is broken and there's water everywhere. Well, now you need to account for a 3-hour round trip commute. That's not even including the time to meet the contractor to fix said problem or to fix the problem yourself. This can turn into a full day affair very quickly, which can be incredibly challenging if your sole responsibility isn't managing this sole property, which if you're starting out, chances are it's probably not. Number 8 is setting aside money upon purchase for the property's renovations or potential issues that could arise. This is a large mistake for a variety of different reasons. One reason is if something happens and requires fixing and you don't have that money set aside, this will end up being a cost for you. If you don't have the money to pay for that cost, then it's going on a high interest credit card or it's not getting fixed. Both of which are not ideal outcomes. Number 2 is you realize this is an issue, that you're not setting aside money, so you start setting aside money each month as a capital expenditure fund. Well, that's great, however, it can eat into your cash flow very fast, and if an expense comes up that's above and beyond what you've set aside for that capital expenditure while you're still building it, then you're pushed back to my original high interest credit card, or it's just not going to be fixed. So setting aside that money in the beginning is extremely important. It should be set aside in a savings-like account solely put away for when issues arise. So figuring out how much you should set aside is fully property specific. If you're something needing replacing soon, then set aside the cost plus some. That way you're prepared if something happens, and then you have a little bit of a margin for error. I set aside between $7,000 and $8,000 per property just to be safe, and that's assuming nothing's gonna happen. If I think a roof's gonna go soon, then I'll set aside money above and beyond that $7,000 or $8,000. Number 9, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is inheriting unqualified tenants. As I previously mentioned, tenants are the backbone to owning rental real estate, so you can imagine why inheriting a bad tenant that's not qualified to pay rent can cost you thousands of dollars. It's crucial to make sure that you look at the credentials of who is actually living in the property you're about to be purchasing, so that you're not signing up for potential eviction or out-of-pocket costs because this tenant won't pay for the rent that they're supposed to. Number 10, and this is a big one, is overpaying for the property. Buying in a great appreciating area can allow you to pay more for the property than immediate comp support. This is the exception, however, and certainly is not the rule. Buying properties for more than they're worth can be a recipe for disaster for a variety of reasons. One reason is simply the market corrects to the downside and you're stuck holding a property that if you were to sell, you realize a huge loss. This loss would then be magnified because you already bought the property for less than it's worth. In this instance, you were at a loss when you sign the closing papers. An additional reason is it's very easy to assume that real estate just goes up in value and it's less risk. Some real estate may consistently appreciate over time, but this is certainly not the case for all real estate. So make sure you study comps, migration patterns, employment history, and income per household in your city to make sure that it shows gradual, consistent incline before deciding to overpay for a property. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out one of my other videos. If I get to 100,000 subscribers by 12/31 of 2024, I'll be donating the full month of December's YouTube proceeds to the American Cancer Society. So like, subscribe, and go ahead and check out one of my other videos over here.